I'm not going to panic about the downward cycle or whatever the ebbs and flows are, because I've done some other things at this point. Now I have investments. I have money saved. I know how to make money, right? And I live my life in a way that is affordable to me at this level or this level, at the multi-million-dollar level or just the single digits $1,000,000 level, right? We know how to do these things.
Little toughness. You got challenges that you're going to run across.
Welcome to another episode of Elite Psyche.
My job in property management, probably making at that time somewhere around $15 an hour. I had my job in property management. I had my boutiques that I was running with, at that time, a business partner, and using my paychecks, because remember, I'm living at home with my mom. So she allowed me to take the money that I was making from my paychecks. Plus I made commission. So it was like $15 an hour plus commission. And I take that commission and pour it into my business. And then I was introduced to network marketing. So now we're on to something. Now we're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel again. And all you had to do was show Donnie Wiggins how she can make this money on her own. And it's up from there.
Wow. During that time, that 2-year struggle, what was your thoughts? Did you have your vision board up? Did you figure you're going to come out of it? Or you was like, why is this happening to me? Or where were you then? I mean, because I think network marketing does a lot for the mentality and the mindset and stuff. But did you had some of that before you got there, right? So during that time, were you vision boarding, or were you just like?
So I had some of it because of my experience. I was always the boss or the assistant boss in corporate America. So because I was always like the corporate trainer or the boss on site or the assistant, there were certain types of meetings that I was privy to, certain types of after work hour experiences that I was privy to. I got to travel a little bit and see things. So I always had an elevated mindset, right? I just didn't have, I didn't know how to apply it to myself necessarily. I always thought big and wanted more and had elevated desires. And, you know, even at that time, it was very luxurious experiences because I sincerely wanted it. Like I wanted to live a certain way. So these things were already in my mind. During the period of 2008 to 2010, I always tell this story. I remember being in my mom's house. Me and my daughter shared my old childhood bedroom. And my daughter's at school at this time period. And I am in my bedroom, and my mom, leaving her bedroom, always had to walk past mine. And I am in my bedroom, and my mom comes walking down the hall, and she catches me like looking at my phone or the TV, and I'm laughing. And so she initially walks past my bedroom, and then she stops and she comes back and she's like, I just don't understand what you have to be laughing at. Like, how could you spend your time sitting in here laughing when you've lost everything and you need to be figuring out a solution? And I said to my mom, well, would I gain anything by sitting in here depressed? Like, do you want me to be sitting in here looking depressed? Should I be sad? Should I be crying? Are the tears and the heartache going to change my life? I don't think so. Like, money was taken from me, but my spirit wasn't. And so to answer your question, during that time frame, I was very disappointed that I lost things, but I was also very encouraged by the fact that my spirit was still intact. During that period of time, I only cried one time. And it was when I was in the process of foreclosing on my home. The bank sent a family in to attempt a short sale. And my daughter and I are there waiting on this real estate agent to bring this family there. And they arrive, and they have a daughter and a son very close to the age of my daughter. And at that time in my house, my daughter had a princess castle room. It was customized with everything you could imagine. And so when they got to her room, you know, we're showing them around the house. They got to the room, and me and my daughter are standing outside of the room. And these kids, this little boy and this little girl, start fighting over who that room would be for. I want this room. This room is mine. I want this room. And they're like bouncing all over her bed. And me and my daughter is standing in the door frame. not in the room, and she's leaned against the door frame just looking at these kids. You know, she's kind of like swinging back and forth in the door frame, like looking at these kids fighting over her room, and I'm standing behind her. And to see her in that moment, it was no longer I'm losing. My daughter was losing her prized possession, her most prized possession. I mean, she had all the sleepovers. All the kids came to her house. She had all the things. She was so proud of her room. Like at that age, 6 years old, you're literally losing your most prized possession. That broke me.
Wow.
And I remember running away or walking off, and I went into my stairwell to just sit because I needed to regroup. And I just sat and I put my hands in my head in my hands. And that was the first and only cry about my situation during that time. And my daughter comes down the stairs and she puts her hand on my shoulder and she sits. She was always so sweet. And she said, "Mommy, it's okay. It's okay. Don't cry." And she's wiping the tears as they're falling into my lap. And she's like, I don't care. It's okay. As long as the boy doesn't get my room. And I looked up and I laughed at her, and we both were laughing in that moment. And I promised her at that time, this will never be your reality again. Your mother will never be the reason that you lose your most prized possession. Your mom will never be the reason that life is unstable for you ever again. And if you just give me grace during this period to get us out of this, life will look different for you. And I meant that.
Wow. That's a story, man. That's real. And that's something that that you can hang on to, like during the times when you struggling, like I got to take care of this situation here, that'll never happen again. But since you're my co-host today, and we gonna be here a few more minutes, I'm not letting you go. Let's play one of the first videos I want Ms. Wiggins to talk about right quick, Doc, if you're there.
Think back to your lowest revenue generating month in the last 12 months. When that month happened, what's your mindset?
It's only a season. And I mean, seasons are hot and cold. It's up and down. It's just a season. Mm-hmm. But it took me a while to come up with that response. It took me a decade to realize, oh, well, this won't last long. Because those down seasons used to last longer than they should have, not because the season is lasting for a while, but because I'm stuck in it and I'm running scared. And my first thought is to scale back because it's not working. So my thought process is this is a season that won't last long and we're going to work through it.
It's my first time seeing that.
Really? Okay. Well, expand on that a little bit. What do you think about his answer, and where were you when you asked that question? Did you already have a thought in your mind that what he would say, or you just
no, I can't think for Dave, but I know that we are very complementary, like in our thought processes and in our beliefs. And I just answered that question a very similar way when you talked to me about, when you asked me about my lowest of lows. And I can't take ownership of lows in that way in my business when we're talking about money, because I too believe it's only a season. Even when I experienced what I experienced 2008 to 2010, I knew the whole time that God had more for me. I knew that I would not have been as educated, as smart, as excited, as eager, and as ambitious as I was just to end up homeless and fail. This would not be my story. So when Dave talks about the lowest season, and also understand that was on the Full Transparency podcast, my solo podcast. When I ask questions, I am asking questions with the intent of helping the viewer. Right. So that question wasn't for David. The question was for the viewer who's watching on Apple or Spotify or YouTube, or when it gets posted to my social media. My questions are never for the guest. It's for the person who needs to grow through that experience or relate to that experience. So I know, because David and I are best friends, I know that when he's experiencing a hard time, he truly does understand that it's just a season, the same as I always believe it's a season. And we both have a gift of navigating seasons very well.
You know, I think that's where leadership and mindset comes in play, because you know how they say that it's not the $1 million you make, but it's the person you become along the way. And once you get to that level and you're making then you understand that you're going to have people. I used to say all the time, if y'all think that you're going to always be going, then Walmart would be a quadrillion-dollar company.
Yeah.
But they have their dips too, and they come back up and they have their dips. You know, the whole goal is, I mean, the whole thing is to make sure that your mind is right and you understand that you're going through these challenges and that you can come out on the other side.
Well, also, like the way I see my business, everything is abundance. And I know this sounds so cliche, but it really is the truth. So I could panic. There are, like this year, we aren't generating the revenue that we were generating in 2021, but I'm not worried about it.
Right.
I know that I'm going to hit my goal. I'm not going to panic about the downward cycle or whatever the ebbs and flows are, because I've done some other things at this point. Now I have investments. I have money saved. I know how to make money, right? And I live my life in a way that is affordable to me at this level or this level, at the multi-million-dollar level or just the single digits $million level, right? We know how to do these things. And so for me, it's a little different because I'm incredibly ambitious, but I am not going to go into panic mode because we are 20% behind where we were this time, 2021. Like this is just a season. And one thing that God has proven to me over and over and over again is that I know how to survive hard seasons. I know how to make ends meet. And yep, sometimes ends have to meet. I know how to do those things. So, and it's all abundance. When we get to this point where we're talking about millions of dollars, nobody really needs millions.
Right. You learn that.
Your life, right?
Right.
You don't really need it. So we're already on the up and up. But even when I was in the company that I was involved with you, and I don't remember how much the income was at that time, but let's just say thousands of dollars, right? Thousands of dollars. I'm not panicking there. I wasn't satisfied there, but I had other things going on, right? Multiple streams of income. And that's why also that is important. But even during the time frame where it's like, I guess when you've lost so much in life, everything is just a plus to you. And it's something that I get to do. Like God positioned me to be a person who gets to make millions of dollars. This isn't something that everybody just deserves. And it's not even something that I always deserve. My work ethic sometimes is not top tier, but you get to do these things. And when you start looking at life from the lens of, you know what, I get to do this. I get to figure out this challenge today. I get to figure out how we're going to get through this season. I get to experience a tremendous award right now. Wow, that was different. I get to do these things. You stop feeling the entitlement to certain things. And sometimes it's the entitlement that makes you feel like what you're experiencing is a slow cycle. What were you going to do with that? What did you need it for right now? Like, I get it. You want the success. You want all the things. You want to be written about in Forbes. But don't forget that you get to do this. And that will have you approach when you're not doing it at a high level as you were at another time frame, very, very differently.
Okay.
And let me tell you also something about that clip, me and Dave. We don't ever focus on what's wrong. We always focus on how to make it better. So if there were a time frame where, let's just say, like I said, this year, the money isn't moneying the way it was moneying in 2021.
Right.
I still make a lot of money. Right. But it is different if we're being totally transparent.
Right.
I don't sit in my home and think about like, man,
21 was rolling. Wow.
Man, we could be going broke. Like, man, like I'm not going to sit in my house like, I wonder if this is it. I wonder if it was just for a period of time. I am sitting in here studying innovation. How can I keep up? What do I need to implement in my business? What can I go all in on to make sure that the business is continuing to grow? Because through experience, I just know that it all makes sense in the end. But when people start to focus on the fact that they made $10,000 last month, but they only made $3,000 this month, and you're focused on the $7,000 loss instead of the lesson that you need to grow, then that's when you start to that's when things start to roll backwards very, very quickly. That's when you can't get your head back in the game. That's when the mental enemies start to defeat you and start to eat you alive from the inside. You can never, ever, ever, you acknowledge the things that are going in the opposite direction that you want them to be going in. You got to acknowledge it. We're real people. I see it. I see that it looks different. I see it.
Well, let me ask you this, because make sure that you like and subscribe and hit the all button and all that kind of stuff, because we're going to have a lot of good interviews on this podcast.